All right. So this is the story of Digital Extremes, which is it's a two-part documentary thing. We're going to be watching both parts. Um Chat has told me that this is basically the video documentary that saved Warframe. Um so I'm pretty intrigued to watch it as someone who recently got into the game and is very much enjoying it. We're about to start the hex, go into 1999. So yeah. This is an early NoClip documentary. Yeah, I believe this was like 8 or 9 years ago. Oops. The tab is muted. Teehee.
Ian.
Wait a minute. They made Unreal Tournament? Why did nobody tell me this? That's so crazy. I had no idea. Are you a pre-Y2K or post-Y2K kid? That's crazy. Post-Y2K, but not by much. Diaz worked on a lot of things. I thought it was common knowledge. No. Not gonna lie, I didn't know that either. I think they worked on Gears of War. What? Okay.
It was a game that Digital Extremes had been trying to release in some form or another for
Isn't
over a
this
decade.
Dark Sector,
And I
or is that
certainly
early
didn't realize
Warframe?
that this curious little free-to-play game was the studio's last chance at survival.
Warframe's been out for 5 years now on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and of course PC. In fact, it spent most of its time on the PC in Steam's
That was the
top
OG
10
Dark
most
Sector
concurrent players
concept.
chart.
Okay.
But it's also a game that a lot of people know absolutely nothing about. So
Very
we thought,
true.
what better candidate for a NoClip retrospective
That was me.
than the remarkable story of Digital Extremes and Warframe. This story starts 3 decades ago in the
30
Great White
years?
North.
What is it? I'm stupid. Warframe is what they wanted Dark Sector to be. They did the PS3 port of Bioshock. As in, like, the remaster?
Through grade 9, all the way through to the end of university, I always had in my head that I would do
Oh my God, these
games
cars.
just in my spare time as a hobby. It was always a
London,
hobby in my head.
Ontario,
I wasn't
Canada.
wasn't getting into
Okay.
a real job in games, so I kind of put that out of my head. But yeah, I'd made games all throughout university. I went to university for mechanical engineering and expected to go
James
into mechanical
Schmudge.
engineering. And one of the little games I was
Oh.
making
Oh my God.
through university, I got published in this little kind of magazine disc thing called Big Blue Disc. That would be on, you'd see it on the magazine shelves. It would come out monthly.
Welcome to
and,
Arizona, Chicago, Mississippi.
I'm just looking around for something to do with my game that I finished, which is kind of a cool little game.
In
And I
Paris,
sent it to them, and
Texas.
they paid me my $1,200.
Right.
Oh! That's like-
I was
that's
amazed
big
that I
bucks
actually made a little bit of money
nowadays.
From this tiny little game. And so that's kind of the first stepping stone.
Well, at least back
to
then.
get it to the professional and actually money coming in.
What was the game?
It was called Legends of Murder. You can search it online and probably find it. I think I found it somewhere.
Fantastic.
That's
And it actually works. I was just playing it a couple months ago. You can download it somewhere. And it's,
Legends of
yeah, it's
Murder.
fun little game. I still thought at that point it would be a hobby in that, and I thought it'd be fantastic.
I know what
if could
kind
make
of
a little bit
teenager you
extra
were.
income from that. And so as I was finishing university, I was a big fan of Star Trek at the time, and it was kind of, and then a game called Star Control had come
Yes,
out,
this is
and I
the
just
story
loved
of Digital
this idea in
Extremes.
my mind of combining those two things, and I ended up making this game called Solar Winds, which was just finishing up as I was graduating
1992.
university. And right around that time, I knew this game was
It
a little bit
shows.
bigger, and a little bit more interesting, a little bit more viable as a real product. And
When
so
did
I remember playing Hugo's
when did
House of Horrors,
the first Star
which
Wars
was a
film
Shaler
come
game
out?
At the time. I actually physically wrote an actual letter.
Because, like,
to
I hella
David
don't
Gray.
believe
I do
people
believe
were
his name
not
is.
into
I
sci-fi.
remember that. And
1977.
I sent the letter off to him. I asked him,
yeah.
can people make money from shareware because you're giving it away for free? And he wrote back and he told me about CompuServe. It was a good online area where
What
people
is
discuss
this?
games and shareware and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, some people make a few bucks and some people make $1 million. And of course,
No
that,
way.
you know, my mind exploded. And I think from
No
there,
way
that's where I
anybody
got
made
on
$1
CompuServe,
million.
And I found out about Apogee and Epic
People
Games.
were into sci-fi.
I
The
met Mark
Cooper were
Rain,
just out of
and the first
touch.
game ended up being published
Epic
by
Games!
Epic Mega Games at the time. I think it was making about $1,200.
They're always
a
at the
month
scene of the
from Solar
crime.
Winds. And I was like working on my next game. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go from $1,200 a month to $2,400 a month. So I can actually live reasonable.
Never forget
on that.
Epic
And
Mega
so,
Games. Epic Mega Games before
it was
they
exciting
changed their
time. I just loved the
name.
work, and the game that came after that was Epic Pinball. And so
I love
as
pinball!
I was making, I was like, okay, this is good. This game is it's my best yet. It's going really well, and so I was really quite
Super Epic
excited
Mega
about
Hyper
it,
Giga
thinking,
Games.
Yeah, maybe I'll make more than
Oh,
$2,400
oh.
a month. Maybe I'll make $3,000. It's like in my mind, oh my God, $4,000 a month. That would be living in luxury. And of
So
course,
true.
It comes out, and it was a monster. Like for individual, for one person making, it was a monster hit, and it just.
Oh, was
I just
it?
remember
Oh.
My first check was like $50,000. So it was a whole new world, and that was kind of.
Man, I wish I was born like 30 years earlier. What the fuck? I would have made so much fucking money.
By the time James had finished his marathon of work on Epic Pinball, he was pretty tired of making pinball games. But Epic Mega Games, the game's publisher, knew that a sequel would be wonderful business. James pushed back, saying he didn't have the creative energy to work on another pinball game. So
No, that's me for real. That's me with like fucking content. I just don't have the energy to play another fucking roguelike Metroidvania. I don't have the energy to make another pinball game. I understand. That is very based, yeah. One whole $1 million. Hilarious to hear that these devs get googly eyes over that much money, and now we have Ubisoft putting $440 million just to make one game. True.
So Epic suggested that he hire some people to do the work for him. This was the foundation
Capitalism.
of Digital Extremes. And the first game for the team,
Extreme Pinball.
was another
Whoa.
hit. While James's new team was working on pinball,
The
he was
people
taking
love
his first
pinball.
steps
The people
into
yearn
3D
for
game
pinball.
design. And it's through this that a decade-long collaboration with Epic would begin.
Fuck yes. I remember the what was that one show that did like a bunch of animated one-shots for games? I remember the Unreal
They often
Tournament one. It
associate
was
this
really
franchise with
awesome.
Epic Games, but the original games were born out of a tight collaboration between the two studios. Between the two, they were
Secret
around
Level,
16
yes.
people working collaboratively on the project. During the development of Unreal, the Epic team traveled to London, Ontario to work on the game. While the team
Ontario.
at Digital Extremes traveled to Raleigh, North Carolina, where Epic is still based, to work on UT99.
As intense as Unreal was, and hard, and really just trying to ship a game, Unreal Tournament was, I think, felt more creative and a little less pressure, but that allowed us to make even a better game, I think, at that point. So my programming.
So wait a minute. Does this mean Digital Extremes created an Unreal Engine? Or did Epic create Unreal Engine and they just worked in it? Hi Casper. They're sadly owned by Tencent, but that's kind of unavoidable. Tencent owns fucking everything. As gifted Unreal Tournament 99 by my uncle when I was 12. When my mother saw me playing the game, she immediately shut it down. Collaborative effort. Epic made Unreal for the single-player Unreal game. DE modified the Unreal Engine. Oh, okay.
Programming contribution went down, and I think I focused more on the art and weapon. I can proudly say I think all the weapon designs are mine for the most part.
Hell yeah.
What are some of your favorite weapons from?
Oh, the flat cannon's always been my favorite. I was very happy with how
That's
that was
awesome.
Did you put the smiley face at the end
I
of
did.
the
I did. Do you know that? I'm not sure if this story's ever been told. We were all in North Carolina.
The glory of Unreal Engine 1, Warframe runs on a
coming
heavily
back from
modified
lunch
branch of Unreal 3.
somewhere. And we walked
Do you think
past,
eventually we're gonna get an
church
upgrade to
called
Unreal
the
5
Redeemer.
or
It's like,
something?
hey, that's a great name for the big guy. So
There's skins in Warframe with some of the guns. Oh, really?
After a church, yes. Great.
Black Cannon skin is in the
I
game.
know Cliff
Oh,
had a
that's
lot of
awesome.
input in the weapons as well, but we wanted something that was more than just basic shooting.
I love the
Combining
designs because the
wildfires to
designs
add
are very
an
like
extra
early
layer of skill on
Doom, like
top.
Mortal
So we're always looking for a way
Kombat-ish.
to add that,
Warframe engine is
you
their
know, you
own.
shoot the weapon
Okay.
in its basic form, and
You can get
do
skins
well,
for the
but if you have that extra
Stalta,
skill
Ogress, and
you can do
Dragoon based on
the
UT
combos
weapons.
or whatever, that there's an extra layer of skill that's kind of built on top of the weapons. So that was definitely the intention as much as we possibly could.
Do you have any favorite maps from that original 99 one?
Facing Worlds, Cedric's map was definitely one of
Nostalgia
one of our favorites that
overload,
we
look at
played in
those
the office.
graphics. Yeah.
There's a lot of really good ones. I like
Evolution
Deck
engine.
16 was
Okay.
awesome. It was Misha's map that was very memorable.
You know,
On
like I
Championship,
can
pretty much
honestly
everything. I worked on weapons.
like
on
going back and like looking at this, like I was a gamer like out the womb basically, and like seeing these graphics here, like I'm still kind of impressed. Like I think this is still impressive for like today's standards. Like obviously we have like hyper pores, realistic faces and mocap and stuff like that, but when you really think about it, like there's a lot of games today that look kind of worse than this. Like this was so impressive for fucking 1999 that we're going to be playing later. It's a fully light baked environment, but damn, it still looks great. Right. I feel like graphics have become too important. I feel like hyperrealism has become too important in modern gaming, but that's a different rant for a different time.
It was Misha's map that was very memorable.
on Championship, pretty much everything I worked on.
Foreshadowing.
Weapons and progression. I'm a programmer. Was how I got my job here. So
Steve
I
Sinclair.
program weapons, I program game modes. I
Why you all
program
got
bots,
cool names?
Bombing
Where's,
rounds,
like-
all those kind of things.
Where's John Doe?
I remember one time, when we
Aesthetics
moved
versus
offices, we had
graphics,
to have
correct,
an
yeah.
electrician come in and he had to come in late.
Hyperrealism is
I
the
was
main
only
selling
one in
point
the
of
office, so I
PC
let
part
him in.
manufacturers.
And he
Yep.
said, so you make video games here? And I said, yeah. He's like, whoa, any video games I might have heard of? And I'm like, yeah, you know, Unreal Tournament 2003. He said, oh yeah, you know, I really wanted to like that Unreal Tournament 2003, but you replace a sniper rifle with that god-awful lightning gun. And I'm like, yep,
Real.
that was me.
After UT99, the teams continued to collaborate, working on Unreal Championship for consoles and Unreal Tournament 2003. But by the time UT 2004
I was 1 year old,
came
yay!
around, collaborating
I
remotely
was 2 years old.
became much more difficult, as both studios had grown so much. It was during this period that Epic and Digital Extremes almost merged, but the idea was scrapped once they realized the Canadian government would require a sizable tax payment up front. And so instead, like college roommates after the last day of class, Digital Extremes
That's
and
real.
Epic Games went down their own different paths.
It's kind of crazy. Like I didn't think Epic was like this huge
After
still
the
even
release of
back
Unreal
then.
Tournament
Oh my
3,
god, they really
Epic
did
would
do
want to partner
Gears.
with Microsoft Studios to create the Gears of War franchise. And Digital
We could have had
Extremes
War
had a big
Fortnite.
idea of their own, a sci-fi action MMO they were calling Dark Sector. They poured
Wanting
their
to do an
creative energy into
MMO
this
in, like,
project,
2005
hoping it
is
would be the key
crazy.
to a new era for the studio. And in fact, it was.
Fortnite Frame
But instead of sending them
1999.
down the path of creating an entirely new franchise for them to own, the demo kept securing them work-for-hire projects.
So yeah, the old DE that I worked at made some cool Unreal games with Epic. Worked at.
This is a complete tangent, and I'm so sorry for the React people I'm gonna piss off by starting this. Can I just say, all developers that are like in their like late 40s, 50s, 60s nowadays, why do they all look great? Like there's just something about working on like things you actually love and creating whimsical video games. You just look great. Video games are good for your looks, so true. The sun is a deadly laser, lack of exposure to sunlight. 2004 is WoW release and it worked so well. A lot of people wanted to do an MMO. Fair enough. Could you fucking imagine if Epic owned Warframe? I think I would not be playing the game if that was true. Working on things you love and lots of money for skincare. Fair enough. Fair enough. Passion over grind really cleanses the pores.
That made some cool
Survivorship
games
bias,
with
the
Epic.
ones that were
And then
in
we
stressful
had the pitch
positions, those
circuit,
companies
right?
are not
Here's our
game
idea
devs
for
by
games.
middle
And
age.
we tried to make this crazy
That's
sci-fi
that's a
game,
good point.
that was called Dark Sector. That wasn't the Dark Sector that shipped. And that was, I remember that was living out of a suitcase for 6 months, traveling Europe and West Coast with a tech demo in a cube PC. You walk in, you show this tech demo, and they say, this is awesome, this is great. How would you like to make the sequel to this game instead? Right? So, you know, that wasn't really, I mean, it was very creatively upsetting and kind of soul destroying because you put everything into this, but it got us work. Publishers have their
Me, when everyone asked me to do more React videos to Bricky's Warframe, or not Warframe, Bricky's Warhammer videos, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to myself.
franchises, and they want to build on that. And so we did that. We did what we call work for hire.
So a few dev studios
Work for
last as long
hire
as
is
DE,
we're
especially
going to
without
pay you
getting
a
gobbled
lot
up by a
to grow an
publisher.
extreme amount to your breaking limit. So you have all these people to take care of,
but I
their families,
could.
their mortgages and their hopes and dreams. We're going to pay you just enough to get to the end of the project. You better pray it earns out so you can get your royalties
You
back.
sign the Vtuber contract,
If
you
I
have to
look
become
back
a
on my
React slop
career, it was
streamer
probably
sooner or
my
later.
biggest personal mistake was to, you know, we had some good money coming in. We weren't that big. We were quite successful, but we had our eye on, like, you know, let's make something like the next Halo, like something huge, right? Because the game
Chamber of Commerce Business Achievement Award? What the fuck?
We wanted to be, you know, AAA, huge.
Sky really did
biggest
see
games,
the
and
early
so
signs of game
we'd
franchises
come up
going
with
down a
demo
dark
and
path.
pitching ideas to publishers looking
For sure.
to use their money to make some product.
Oh my
And it was
god!
definitely a challenge
The
that went
boxy
on with us
PCs!
for many years, looking for that product of our own. When
Unreal
possibly
Tournament
the
games are
better
huge.
decision
Oh,
at the
for
time
sure,
would be
yeah.
to
Hi,
have
Miko.
been taken our own money and made our own small little product that was
Fucking
fully funded ourselves, that
CRTs, bro.
wasn't striving to be that big, massive blockbuster.
But that's your own money. It's more risky. You could
More risky, but then you have full control over it, because just when you're doing a work for hire project, I mean, it's their money, so you're doing what they want, and maybe you never know exactly.
You look like someone Satan would send when he wants to renegotiate a contract. I'm gonna take that as a compliment and continue on.
Exactly what they want, or they don't know what they want. And if you look at our history and most independent studios' history, when they have full control, complete control over the product they're making, which often only comes if you're funding it yourself, you will make a better product.
For over a decade, Digital Extremes would work predominantly in the cutthroat world of work for hire. What many studios do when they're in this situation is scale up for projects and then conduct widespread layoffs afterwards. But James was from the area, and Digital Extremes was the only studio in town. His employees had roots, families, friends, mortgage payments, so him and the team did anything they could to keep contracts coming through the door. What this meant was that their Dark Sector idea kept getting kicked down the road while the team worked to keep the lights on. The studio partnered with Toronto-based Groove Games on Unreal Engine shooter Pariah and its sequel of sorts, Warpath. They took a contract
I
to
haven't
help
heard of
create the
either of
PlayStation
those.
3 port of BioShock,
Oh!
all the while shipping around their Dark Sector game.
We had this idea, what would Metal Gear and like the Dark Crystal be if you put them together?
That's
So
an
of course there
interesting
would
concept.
be like anime energy tentacles coming out of people's heads. There would be really cool robots, but the metal would be organic and changing. You know, we had a lot of ideas.
As we tell Wonder
Science
Bubble to
fiction
sub
that
at tier
wasn't
3.
necessarily
You should
just
sub
like
at
James
tier
Cameron
3.
science fiction.
No.
We wanted maybe some Frank Herbert science fiction.
Dude.
So we had these kind of ideas.
Worm.
I went off and wrote a whole bunch of stuff about these characters and the artists, you know, Mike Brennan designed these beautiful, kind of very interesting enemies, and him and
I think they did
Jeff,
the
you know,
multiplayer
worked
ports
on
of the other
original kind of
Bioshock game too.
what became our Excalibur suit. And we went around and pitched it, and this was kind of when Halo was sort of a thing starting to emerge, but every publisher said no one likes sci-fi and they won't sell.
Which is just
every time.
stupid. I mean, just look at the success of fucking Halo, Star Wars, Star Trek. Literally everything in this era was sci-fi because it was fucking cool. It was the early 2000s. People were like, new millennium, we're gonna get fucking aliens. Aliens are finally gonna come to Earth. Like, what are you talking about? Debuted at E3 2005. RIP E3.
So the Tenno, which is
Oh,
the good guys, send in our boy. Here he is, Hayden Tenno.
Hayden Tenno! It's John Tenno! No way!
In his
Oh my
ancient
God.
Excalibur armor suit. All right, so there he is, and this is the perspective of our game. It's sort of an over-the-shoulder mixed third-person, first-person type control scheme. We've got
John Tenno, I
on the
can't
left analog
believe
stick,
it.
We have move and strafe, like you might have in a game like Halo. And on the right stick, we've got
Christian Hayden Centeno.
so we see the suit at all times, but we have essentially what is a first-person.
We get it, John Tenno. We see the fit. We get it.
Back then, you were really beholden to publishers.
Want to play the game
to
that
get your
zoomed in?
games out.
Absolutely not.
There wasn't digital distribution. You know, you needed to get your game onto a retail shelf, and to
Hayden
do
Tenno was a
that
name they kept
was
for the final
really
release of Dark
expensive.
Sector.
And there was no way for kind of independent developers to be able
Love
to
the big blue
foot that
eye
bill.
in the background.
You know, you have to manufacture a
Grenier.
certain amount even to get onto store shelves, and you have to pay all of that up front, along with, you know, the licensing fees that come with that. And being an independent developer up until about, I'd say,
Not
5 to 7
Grenier.
years
Oh,
ago
okay.
was really difficult.
I mean, you talk to any kind of mid-sized developer, even these days, I think it's and especially back then, it was a huge challenge because the games were becoming bigger. and
Legally
bigger.
distinct Grenier.
The mid-sized games, it was really even
Insane to
more
think how
hit and
many,
miss if they were
how they
to
could have been the
even
front
gain
runner
any
for so many
traction
things
in
if publishers
retail.
let them.
As
Right.
that runway was running out, and I was getting desperate, and we were getting chain yanked by publishers. You know, one publisher said, "Well, we don't like the hero; he's too feminine. Can he have an eye patch?" Like,
What?
There's so many things to unpack here. Right. Okay. This very hyper masculine guy in a fucking suit of armor is apparently too feminine. You know how we're gonna fix that? Give him an eye patch. Take away his eye. What? I'm guessing that guy only ever saw MGS3.
Till women can't have eye patches.
Right.
Silicone checkpoint.
God forbid. Give him an eye patch, give him a peg leg too. So many stories of the money people having bonkers notes for the games. Truly some mind-boggling opinions. Proves that businessmen know nothing about what makes a good game. He had too much ass. I can't stop looking. He's not built like a brick shit house in the too feminine. We all know a woman's eye is invulnerable, so obviously only men wear eye patches.
literally crazy things like that. It was
Okay, at least you also think that was crazy. Thank you.
getting so close to signing, but just wasn't, and it was dragging on and dragging on. So I did a
Now, keep in mind, this was also supposed to be an MMO in 2005, which is also crazy to me.
We did a pivot. We said, oh, it's going to be, okay, those sci-fi stuff, fine. Okay, so it's going to be more like Resident Evil. Than
Graphics like this for an MMO in 2005 would have broke the fucking world.
In order to land the deal, and we did.
The Dark Sector that was eventually released looks almost nothing like the original pitch video. They took off the protagonist's mask. Instead of being a space soldier, he was now part of the CIA. It played less like Metal Gear and more like Resident Evil 4 or Gears of War.
I kind of forget Resident Evil 4 released in like 2007 originally. Cause like, to me, I mean, let's see, I was 5 years old playing Resident Evil. When did it release on Wii? Because I don't think it originally released on Wii. I think it was ported to Wii. If it plays like RE4, does John Tenno punch a boulder? So he's not gonna play Dark Sector after hearing it's playing like Resident Evil? I mean, maybe. Is this game even like still available? Is it like on Steam? RE4 also birthed a lot of new franchises. DMC comes to mind. RE4 was GameCube in 2004. Okay. 2005 original release, probably 2006, 2007. Yes, so the Wii release was in 2007, and that's when I played it. Hey, I was around 5 when I started RE as well. It was just RE1. Dark Sector is pretty rough to play, not gonna lie. It's a tenner on Steam. You're playing Warframe, right? Dark Sector is $10 on Steam. I mean, I think that would be like a really like fun content idea. Just like see how ass it is.
To be fair, when
but like
Nier
how
came
fun
out
it
in
could
2010,
be.
the West got a different version to JP. We originally got a Butch Father figure, then we got Bother Nier in the remaster for Replicant.
Are you talking about like Drakengard in 2010? Or are you talking about like Nier Automata? There's no way Nier Automata came out in 2010. It's not complete ass, but man, its age definitely shows. I mean, I'm completely fine with playing old games. I love playing retro games. The OG Nier. Okay, Nier 1. Nier Gestalt. Okay.
The name, Hayden Tenno, a term they'd use again in the future. Dark Sector received above average reviews when it was launched in March of 2008. Above average,
okay.
But it came out in a tough market, as it was an incredibly popular time for third-person action games.
Flailed around for a while trying to find its footing and find what the actual gameplay was and how we integrated the glaive with the gunplay.
Scott McGregor.
The cover system and the cover
I mean, it doesn't look that
existing
bad.
Games like, like Gears was inspiration, but we wanted to do something a little bit better, a little bit more fluid.
I mean, that's the difference between what the publisher at the time wanted with the game. They wanted something that was more grounded and more kind of set in reality that people could relate to.
Oh my god, seeing how much stuff they reused is so awesome. They actually censored the gore for the Aussie release of this game despite letting games like Gears get launched with full gore. That's crazy.
Digital Extreme's Dark Sector project hadn't gone exactly the way they wanted to, but
It's not that bad, it's just aggressively mid in gameplay for the time.
Plus, the team had another game out the door.
They continued doing work for hire gigs. They developed the multiplayer for Bioshock 2 and Homefront. They designed The Darkness 2 for 2K and secured a contract to make the video game for an upcoming Star Trek movie. But the squeeze on mid-tier games was getting worse and worse for publishers. Rising development costs meant that the revenue required to make each of these games a financial success was rising with each year. Digital Extremes found themselves caught in the crossfire.
Well, I think
Really wish the Bioshock 2 multiplayer was playable nowadays.
And,
I didn't even know it had multiplayer.
A mid-tier developer, I think we saw the writing on the wall is those pitches and those things were harder to do, and the quality bar that the
What a
publisher
game.
required and the risks they were willing to take they weren't willing to take them anymore. So it was like, okay, well, we're gonna have to figure out something else.
Star Trek's ramping down rather, and soon, there won't be any more milestone payments.
I feel like you
coming in
might
to
like the
keep lights
Darkness
on.
games. I don't know
This
about
other
that.
project that we had started that we thought was going to get greenlit, that publisher had a bad quarter and are now doing everything in-house. These are literally things happened.
It was a very challenging time, and it was definitely hard to get those, to work with a publisher to get those real, potentially high quality products funded, because there was so much at stake. Like, to compete, you need to put more money in them. And then at that time,
I spy an old Xbox 360 in the background.
About some of the
and then I just remembered this video was made like 8 years ago. Oh god! Oh my god! On the one hand, man, I hate publishers and boards fucking up creative fields. On the other hand, if they had gotten to build what they wanted from the get-go, we probably wouldn't have ever gotten Warframe. True.
I mean, World of Tanks is the most perfect
World
example.
of Tanks mentioned.
Phenomenal. I don't know what the budget was, but
Please.
it wasn't like $100 million budget to ship that out the door. And we love the idea of the fact that, you know, you can initially ship something smaller.
I don't believe so,
We've seen
Jabber.
this in a few other games, and then grow beyond there. So it really seemed really appealing to us, that concept.
Oh god, my
of
uncle
try
plays
something,
that.
see if the fans like it, and then.
I think my IRL's tried World of Tanks for like
Yeah,
a
the
hot
inspiration was,
week.
Can we make something small? I mean, back the clock up 2 years, that would have been an XBLA game, right? But XBLA didn't seem to be landing the hits that maybe independent developers like we were hoping it would. And so that seemed like, okay, well, here's another option. My interest was not, you know,
World of Tanks is
free-to-play,
cool, but
single
people can't
player.
stop leaking literal military
My interest
secrets to the
well, the
devs.
scope of that sounds like something
Is that
we can
happening in
do
World of Tanks
with
as
how much
well?
we have left.
I thought that was a War Thunder.
Better work, because that's it.
Was it scary, the idea that, like, because you're not swimming in
Completely. It
capital?
was our last. It was a Hail Mary. It was like, it really was.
How close to closing were you guys, or how close to bankruptcy?
Yeah, really close, really close. Yeah, I could.
Was
tell
it
that
fun,
story.
baby?
It was
World of
pretty,
Tanks Blitz couldn't even
it
play
was
the
super
real
close.
game,
It
not that I had the
we
connection
knew
for it. 1K
This was our
ping.
last chance, and we had
It's a milsim
a couple
game.
$1
Oh.
million extra, like, to do this with. We studied all the games out there. A couple, like a game called Drakensang, which I really enjoyed at the time.
Never heard of it.
World of Tanks, and was it Battlefield Heroes? I think had done all right. So we're looking at anything out there that looked like it was.
My whoops, it's War Thunder.
sustaining
I mean, I'm sure
itself,
it's probably
and
happened with
told
World of
Steve
Tanks as well.
you know,
Chicky, thank you for the
about 12
prime.
months.
Thank
That's it.
you.
It was like nothing but 12 months.
We had tried to make
12
a
months.
version of Dark Sector multiple times.
Drakensang
We had
that's
made
based on a
this
German
kind of weird
TTRPG.
MMO
Oh.
prototype using Unreal, and we had kind of servers and you could jump between them, and it was kind of starting to feel almost like, you know, it was very precursor. The original Planet Side was coming out, and we're like, oh man,
Planet
World War
Side.
II Online, like people were starting
World
to
War
make these kind
II
of action
Online.
games, but with an MMO context. We were really attracted to that.
Steve had always thought of a Dark Sector sequel where we go back to the Space Ninja demo that we had done, and he's thinking like a small.
Another tangent that the YouTube frogs are gonna hate me for. This guy's name being Jeff, spelled like that, reminded me of Jeff Keighley. R.I.P. Jeff Keighley's dad. I didn't know Jeff Keighley was a Nepo baby. I didn't know Jeff Keighley's dad literally, like, essentially invented, like, IMAX. And that's why Jeff Keighley is, like, really passionate about, like, Game Awards and stuff like that. So my opinion of Jeff Keighley has gone a little bit higher after learning that. Crazy how I played this game since 2015 and you almost caught up so quickly. I mean, they definitely, like, streamlined the early Warframe for sure. I have 2,900 hours in PlanetSide 2. I haven't played it in years and I still get burnt out on all PvP. He obviously hasn't been hired for his jokes. Wow.
We go back to the Space.
That the
Ninja
Game Awards
demo
guy?
that we've
Yes.
done. And he's thinking like a
Game Awards,
small,
Summer Games Fest,
space
all that.
program.
Gamescom.
So we'd kind of do randomly generated ships. You'd raid these ships, get loot, and come
Oh
back.
my
An
god.
idea of his, you know, he kind of thought of it as a small, maybe like PSN or Xbox Live game type of thing that we just never really had the opportunity to make. So when we were thinking about going into the free-to-play, this seemed like a really good, small, tangible demo that we could make. And it was, for us, it was like this thing we really loved that we really never got to execute on.
A few of us went to James and said, okay, we think we can do this really fast if it's this and it's small scope. And we think that co-op is not as served as it gives us an opportunity not to be kind of going against the giants.
The team had a round of layoffs, but they were still 250 people large. Steve was put in charge of a small group, around a dozen people, who put together the demo for this new free-to-play game, taking ideas as early as the original 2000s Dark Sector MMO and much of the gameplay and visuals from their failed 2005 pitch of Dark Sector. They put together a demo of their spaceship raiding game in just under 2 months. Then Stephen Meredith went back on the road to try and pitch this game to free-to-play publishers looking for any sort of cash injection to help them keep the lights on.
And we had the largest
Oh my god.
publishers in the world, the richest.
And they realized you remember Warframe skill
Just,
trees.
like, Google, who's the richest? Here they come. And they walked in.
Largest free-to-play publishers 2011. Nexon, go fuck yourself, I'm still banned. Giant Interactive, Perfect World, CJ Internet, and Handbitsoft. I remember the UI before there was the ship. No modding system when Excalibur's ability was Big Jump. My favorite Warframe ability is Super Jump. Big list of perks for each frame and weapon. Perfect World still exists. I actually know Perfect World still exists because I have a friend who kept trying to get me I believe Perfect World is a game as well as a publisher. And one of my oldest friends kept mentioning Perfect World to me, and every single time I was like, no. I accidentally spent plat on daily free lives. Oh no. Super Jump still exists as an ability in the code, and apparently whenever an ability ID is set up wrong, it defaults to Super Jump.
This is great. I can't believe this. What an exciting meeting. I'm so good. And in slow motion, and the record needle scratch because it was sci-fi.
Right.
And they just walked out.
As soon as they saw that it was PvE and sci-fi, it was...
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we were like, what?
I mean,
because you would think like the game studio full of people who make games, who want to play games, would know what the people want. So why are you not trusting the people who have the skills to create the game? That just, I will never understand capitalism at this rate. I don't. When we're all being literally running but on a wall.
I remember one of those guys. They came to the studio, they did the tour, they looked at what we'd been building.
They refused to take a risk and, hold on, because that's a good point. They refused to take a risk, and that's why we're here now with our current games. It's not about good game, it's about the money, and only suits understand the money / sarcasm. Only the heads of the studios that want to hurry and make money know what people really want. I must have been out of the loop back then. Why was sci-fi so despised? I mean, I'm estimating. I forgot if they mentioned whatever year this is currently that we're discussing. I'm gonna estimate it's probably like around 2008 or 2009, maybe even 2010, 2011. I think that's why they mentioned the 2011 publishers. So this is probably 2011. I was like 9 years old, which is crazy because every single game, with like the exception of like Call of Duty, because I don't think Call of Duty Black Ops was out yet. Every single game I remember playing was sci-fi. So like what are you saying? You don't want more sci-fi games? Other than like horror games and like God. 2011 is Black Ops here, which Black Ops was pretty futuristic sci-fi, right? Or am I thinking of like Black Ops 2 or 3? Early 2000 was Star Wars time. Yeah, like you would think that like Dead Space was huge. Exactly. That's like what I'm saying is like, what do you mean? You're being shown this like amazing sci-fi concept and gameplay, and you're saying no sci-fi, even though the biggest games currently is sci-fi. Black Ops 2 is more futuristic. Okay.
This is the best looking free-to-play game I've ever seen.
Maybe all the sci-fi games were sequels to established games and people were reluctant to start new sci-fi stuff.
Dave and I just looked at each other.
Kind of, but not really.
Yeah, well, because the game can't look this good and update as often as you need to build your community. And of course that
What's if I bet a Black Ops 1 was MK Ultra actually doing something?
fast updates. How are we going to do this? So a lot of early tech.
Remember, publishers insisted for years that single player is dead. They don't say what it is, they say what they want it to be.
That kind of idea of frequent updating. Those publishers didn't bite. And so it was, can we make money before the end of the year? And I was like, okay, so 9 months to make a game.
When the team tried to make the original Dark Sector, the need to get a publisher influenced that game dramatically. But this time, Digital Extremes didn't have time to retool the game for publisher needs. And frankly, they didn't want to. They knew what type of project they were making. A free-to-play Space Ninja game they were currently calling Lotus. But what they didn't know was whether or not this game would be enough to help save the company.
This project
We're so
was a
close to going out
massive
of
shot
business.
in
It's
the
like a
dark.
Cinderella
Not only had the
story.
team never made a free-to-play game before, but this game was going to be responsible for keeping a studio of 250 people afloat while they scrambled.
It's really interesting to me that
actually transpired.
the whole documentary was made like 8-9 years ago. And that's about the time when I tried Warframe for the first time.
Look at the remarkable story of Warframe. See you then.
All right, and now we go into part 2, which is, I believe, longer than this one. Yeah, part 2 is 34 minutes. That was 30. Started a little research project into TV shows that were good but were canceled, and Firefly was put on the worst possible time slot by the Fox execs because they didn't believe in sci-fi as a genre, which is insane to me. Excuse me. Did I mute this tab too? I did.
So, the elephant in the room, at least for those of you who have never played it.
I just said
What
Warframe designs are so
exactly
unique because I wanted to cosplay Arthur for a
At its heart,
competition
Warframe
for
is
so
a
long,
loot
but I always
shooter.
opt
You
out
play
and do
short
something
levels.
else. I will say that is probably the one bad thing about loving like sci-fi media is a lot of the times the designs are so awesome but so fucking complicated that the average person could never like do like homages correctly, like merch or like cosplay and stuff like that.
Really fast to gather items that help you unlock new warframes. These warframes are varied around combat and elemental
Oh my
themes,
god, I
allowing you to
remember
use
that you
entirely different
are.
powers, weapons, and ways of movement. Some are melee-centric, others utilize magnesis, electronics, or spores. One bard class plays music to buff other players, music that can be written using an in-game sequencer.
Is this still in game, by the way? I don't have Octavia. Is this still in game? Yes. What the fuck?
You can play single player or co-op. There's a PvP component, an open world area, clans, a story, customizable pets, frames, ships, and loads more.
The Warframe of today is strange and varied, a bizarre game built atop the foundations of a very different experience. So, to understand the game as it exists today, we must first go
My
back
friend wrote an
to that
original
early
banger for his
prototype
Octavia that gets
with
compliments
Digital
on
Extremes
regularly.
that
Nice.
9 months to make a free-to-play experience that might just save the company.
So our company was focused on finishing up publisher stuff, pitching new stuff, things that were getting canceled, stuff like that. It was kind of imploding, right? There's no fault of the people that worked on those things. I mean, the ebb and flow of the economy, a publisher has a bad quarter. Who's the first to go? Well, the contractors, and that's us. So that 9 months was...
When he's any dancey mode, it even makes the whole song he made play independent of your abilities.
Warframes
That's
as
so
possible, so
awesome.
that we could have, you know, a minimum set, and then trying to invent an infrastructure for this kind of so-called back end.
Like everyone is never going to give you up on Octavia.
Account persistence. None of that stuff we had any understanding of. You know, building all the stuff you need to for independence. Now you got to make your own website. Now you have to make your own, you know, customer support portal. How do you accept payments from people when you sell them a Founders?
Do they have these blue
How do you
hologram
get
spots where you can share your
certifications to
Octavia
take credit
songs?
cards
Oh,
from
that's so
people?
cool.
There's really a lot of like back-end infrastructure and database stuff, while the artist, right, you know, scrambled to make as much of that kind of procedural level stuff that we can
Octavia's
do to
showing his
support,
baby
you
shark.
know, keeping people interested.
Minimum viable product. It was the smallest thing we could put out that people could play, that people get an idea what we're trying to do. And slowly we've bolted on parts.
Oh
and
my
added things to it. And I
God.
think that's how we treat everything in the game.
Holy
Don't worry about it.
shit.
Ship it. It's fine. It's good enough for 1.0. Ship it.
My name is Rebecca Ford, and my current job title is Live Ops and Community Director.
Cool. Current job title. What was your first job title?
Community.
She's so pretty.
No, I think it was just intern.
Okay.
So that actually is true. Intern would have been the first one. I started my internship in January of 2011.
Cool. Had you ever worked in the industry before?
I was still in third year of university, so I sort of just came and never left.
Did you finish university?
I did.
Okay.
I did. No one ever asked for proof, so but I did. It's true. When I first started, we were finishing The Darkness 2. So
From
that
intern
was
to
just sort of
creative
in the tail
director,
end
we
of
love Rev. I
development,
do.
and I didn't
I
have
do
a
love
role in any
her.
of that really. I just kind of came to the studio and figured where I could help. So I was doing like launch parties for the products.
Back when Rev
and
was the
just
community manager, that's how you know
general
this
office
video is
things.
old.
Stuck around, and then Warframe really started
Didn't
becoming a
even think of the
reality
Prime.
in
Rebecca
early
saved me from a
2012.
burning
So this,
building and
like,
also gave me
just
$1,000 and
mentally,
also drove me
then
around in her
really hit the ground
Mercedes.
in July, and I knew at that point that this would have been an opportunity. And
God,
hopefully
I
the
would love
people
to meet
that
her
I
just
would work with
once.
felt the same way. So they were like, yes, this will need community
I want to
support.
pick
And I
her
was like, yes,
brain,
I will do this.
honestly.
So pre-Warframe, was there a community team?
No.
Okay. And when did you figure out that, oh shit, we need a community team?
Probably when we realized we were going to do it all ourselves. Not only do we need community, we probably need to support these people. So I started the support.
Metaphorically, I hope.
community, forums,
Yes.
all that stuff. I think
She has a secret TikTok account where she does Warframe shit posts. Literally?
We were so desperate for this to
Become a
work
quarter?
that we
No,
wanted to
stop.
Be in the thick of it as this alpha phase was happening. So we wanted to see what the problems were, where the issues, appeared to happen for the game, for the bugs, for all these things. And it really just had us glued to our communication outlets, which would have been the forums at the time exclusively, just watching.
Rebecca joined the team and helped in any way she could, even going so far as to voice the character of the Lotus, Warframe's space mom, who guides the players throughout their time in the game. The closed alpha was launched and the team kept a watchful gaze on feedback. Through emails and forum posts, they zeroed in on what bugs they needed to fix, what powers felt imbalanced, all while adding in new meshes for the Warframes. Warframe needed satisfied players, because if this project was going to work, it needed to start supporting the small team that was developing it. They drew inspiration from the success that many niche games were having on Kickstarter and decided to put out a founders package for the game. This package would
7
include
damage,
a bunch of
that's
the game's currency,
huge.
platinum, along with exclusive equipment, forum badges, Warframe sigils, and keys to the upcoming beta. The team had never sold in-game items before, so they had no idea if
Hello, Grenier!
I can kind of like put my finger on the most optimistic I'd felt, which was when we started our founders program, which was sort of our own Kickstarter version of the game, which was basically you can become a founder of Warframe, and that means that you'll sort of have meant it was successful if it turns out to be that way. And I remember watching real time as
Founders
the first Grandmaster
mentioned.
founder purchase came through, and at that point that was someone spending $250 to support Warframe for what it was at the time. That was like the moment when I realized people care about this game,
right,
as much as
Would have
us.
been me if I had the cash back
Running into
then.
the office in November.
I mean, what year was this?
Right into the middle of a programmer meeting. They're all talking about problems.
Literally, it
Burst
was
in the
too
door.
young to have that amount of
We made
money, but
$1,500 yesterday. And they looked at me. I mean, it's not enough to pay them, right? That's not enough to keep the lights on. But my God,
2012?
look at
Yeah, I was like
shock on
11
their
years
face that
old.
People would actually pay
Should have
for
asked my mom
Warframe,
to buy me the
they
founders pack with her
were
credit card. I
Yeah,
should have stole
was
it,
crazy.
actually.
And what really at that time was the most scary was doing free to play and doing it wrong, because we were doing it wrong early on. We were selling power, no customization to speak of really at the time. We didn't really have
Pay
a
to
lot
win,
at the time, except
yeah.
a fun, free, downloadable game that you could shoot and be a ninja in.
Warframe is a game that many consider to be fair free to play, but that wasn't always the case. As the game moved into closed beta, it had a supercharged system that allowed players to double the
Jesus
capacity of their gear. But there was no
Christ.
in-game way of
They figured out
unlocking
pay to
this
win
system.
versus pay to
It was
customize much
only
faster than
available
any of
if
their
you used
contemporaries.
real-world
Potatoes
cash
were
to unlock
plat
it,
only.
meaning those who were willing to spend could effectively be double the power of those who weren't.
The reason I don't like the Warframe here, leveling up, is if I go into this, there's nothing else to do because I need this upgrade. Or a fuel reactor. And without it,
Oh, that's
I can't take this
bad.
Warframe any further.
Oh, that's
But
bad.
you've got to use real money to do that.
Oh,
We come back to the studio,
no.
I think on January
I think you could
10th,
only die 3 or 4
2013,
times in a
we
mission, and
took
then you
out
had to
the
pay
pay-to-win-ish
plat to revive. Things were
things
tough.
that we realized were horrible. This wasn't, and we realized it because the community was like, whether they paid or not, they were hating this thing, and we were like, wow, this really is awful. So out it goes. 2013
Not 4 times
starts
per
off
mission,
with
4
the
times
DNA
per
now
day?
slightly, radiated to.
Oh my god!
With the open beta 3 months away, the team was desperately trying to get attention from the press. But back in 2013, free-to-play was a term that lots of traditional gaming sites were staying
This is
clear
Rev's
of.
superhero
The team was having
origin
trouble
story.
getting the word out to new players, but their communication with the
Kind of miss those
community
days because
was
you
beginning
kind
to
of wanted
create a
an
lot of
actual set team
goodwill
with a tank killer
around
and
this new
DPS frame.
IP. The growing buzz would eventually catch the
So,
attention
oops! My bad.
of PC around.
I meant to pause the video, not or hide the source. But I will say, I think that would probably be. It's both like a positive and a negative for Warframe, in my opinion, because as much as I love and hate classical MMO class systems, there are ways that make it really fun because there's definitely people who prefer to play one sort of class over the other. And I would say that's probably like one of my biggest gripes with the game is that supports kind of just feel useless at times. And it's like, yeah, I love doing like a shit ton of damage on what's supposed to be a support class for sure. I love being able to be on par with the other people in the party. But at the same time, I wish I could just do more with my support class. If you think about it, every sport IRL has the 3 roles. I remember when Rubedo dropped in bundles of 2 to 6 and you needed 500 to craft Rhino. Warframe has too many solo Andes to allow specialized characters for team play, for sure. Told my friends I play Warframe last week and they told me I play coworker games. That's crazy.
On this new IP, the growing buzz would eventually catch the attention of PC-focused
I know.
YouTubers.
I think
and it
the
was
model
through
is
that
good for
that
Warframe.
got
I
its
think if
first
I
big
want
break
to play
into
a
the
class
mainstream
system
gaming zeitgeist.
where a support class is...
my name is Total Biscuit. I'm here to ask you.
Oh, right. I forgot about this. Hold on, before we get into this. I do think the current system is better for Warframe. Because, like, if I truly wanted to go play a support class, I would just go play a different game. You know? We don't need to force that kind of mechanics on Warframe when, if you're looking for that, you could just go play a different game and then return to Warframe whenever, you know, something updates and stuff like that. Supports and crowd control used to have more impact. My 2CP is the removal of self-damage is one of the biggest contributors to the run and gun speed that the game favors now. The best CC is the enemy is dead. The revamped Conclave, they could do a class system purely for PvP. Yeah, maybe. I low-key would prefer if they brought back the skill tree system as an extension of the focus trees and unlock/enable Warframe augments that way rather than through modding. I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about that. I guess as someone who currently doesn't really even understand the modding system to a higher degree, I guess I would be indifferent either way. I mean, it's just adding another but different grind to the game.
Can answer one simple question. WTF is Warframe. Warframe is a free-to-play co-op third-person action game developed by Digital Extremes. They brought you games such as The Darkness 2, Dark Sector, and they were of course involved pretty heavily in Unreal Tournament and all manner of different things. They've had
in terms of the public gamer
Total Biscuit, I was there when they held the vigil for
that
him.
video and then after that video, like no question in my mind. So, and for me,
and it's again, sorry YouTube frogs for pausing.
it's crazy that, you know, she herself is admitting that this game studio was so influenced by one YouTuber's opinion and video on the game that the studio themselves feel like there was a before and after of it. It's, to me even, it's crazy how much influence one content creator can have on so many people. Like, that probably built a shit ton of jobs at DE. Is that catalyst of someone's YouTube video employed a shit ton of people and brought what we now know as Warframe and what we enjoy as Warframe today. Like, it would not exist one without the other. And I think that's crazy to think about.
For that video and then after that video, like, no question in my mind. So, and for me, like, that was very indicative of how important it is to reach this viewership and everything. I don't want to say that in like a needle finger, like, let's get the viewers, 'cause that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is people love looking around and finding new sources of entertainment. So,
correct.
You know, YouTube is one of those.
Yep.
Certainly potential involved in Warframe. Definitely.
Just like Twitch is another.
It's a very high fidelity, obviously kind of AAA quality, free-to-play game. But it, I think, has a long way to go before it can really define itself as absolutely top tier and really have the content that's going to keep people playing for longer than a couple of days.
With more players coming through the door than ever before, the open beta launched on March of 2013 with 8 playable frames.
I'd say 2013, I would have been 11. If they mentioned what platforms this beta was released on, I might have played the beta if it was on Xbox. PC only. Okay. So whenever it released on consoles, that's when I started playing.
And hundreds of bug fixes, quality of life updates.
Now, obviously, like I mentioned,
to launch the game
I
on
never
Sony's
got
new console,
further than like the
PlayStation
first
4.
3
That
missions in
wasn't going to
Warframe.
market until November of that year.
Until
free to
now.
play on consoles was an unproven market. At this stage, Warframe was only available through the basic web portal that the team had set up, so they realized it was probably about time that they turned on a certain valve.
We're now at this point where we can tread water and keep trying to build it. But it was really tenuous. It felt go, no go, right? Like, you know, there's laws about if you need to lay
I was in
people
high
off,
school
you have
back
to
then,
give
couldn't
them
even save up a
severance.
penny to get the
And that-
Founders
and that
Pack in
comes out of
Excal
this
Prime.
reserve, right? So
Started
there's
when
a
it
point
launched
where
on
you
Steam.
are really going to screw people
See,
over
every
if
time you
go
remind me
away
that you were
from
born
it.
after 2000, I feel like I'm turning to dust. My
Yeah,
bad.
it was nerve-wracking.
And it kind of
My
got
fault.
its feet under itself.
Just for the people who don't want to do the
support
math, I am 23
itself,
years old,
just
by the way.
As you know, we were running out of money, and so it launched.
Now, I was
and
on
we
PC
decided,
at this
well,
time. Like,
then
I had
it
a
wasn't until we
laptop,
launched
but
on
I would
Steam
not
that
have
we
been
knew
able
we
to
were
run
saved,
Warframe.
because we were
Literal
knew
toddler
leading up to the
piter.
Steam launch, it was making out enough money to sustain a small team, but we were 250
My
people.
bones. Why are
And
you
so it's
older
like
than
we're
me?
sweating. It's
Whoa.
like, okay, so let's turn on Steam and see how many people we can
We're
support.
the same age? Yay.
And we turned it on, and
2014, I just finished high school. I
I
graduated
remember
high school in
every
2020.
day I'd get up and I would check
My
our
graduation got
rudimentary
affected by
stats to
COVID.
see, you know, how much have we made for the previous day, with the hope that at some point it would be enough to maintain the team that we had on it.
Hi,
Or
Slimy.
at some point it would be enough to maintain the studio. And I don't remember how many days it was that it wasn't. It felt like a really long time, but I really remember the day that we did. Like, I remember waking up in the morning, I'm yelling in the living room. My wife came out, and she's just like, what's going on? I'm like, look, Warframes actually can support the studio.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, now the problem is
Sheldon, the
not
slot
just survival.
denier.
The problem is retention and keeping
Started
them coming
college during
back
COVID.
and
Shit pissed me
growing the
off. Me too,
content.
yeah.
We have one level in the game.
2013, I was literally
let's
5
fix
years
that,
into
you know, that
university.
kind of
Oh my god, you people
Really,
are
that was a
old.
big shift, at least in my mind, was when the big Steam audience came.
Warframe was making
Woo!
money, a lot of money, enough that for the first time in 2 decades,
That's a lot of
the specter
monitors.
of work for hire was no longer giving the executive team nightmares.
Look
but
at the
Digital
good
Extremes
mirror.
had wandered into the problem that Steve had been warned about a year earlier. How was this game going to
Got kicked out of my
retain people?
apprenticeship
Free
because
to
of
play is a
COVID.
fickle
Oh.
beast, and while PvP games tend to keep people longer, PvE lives
Good
and
Mirror
dies on the
Simulator.
amount of content available. Well, it turned out that the studio's biggest financial crutch, their large staff, was now their unfair advantage. Not only did they have 250
You can access
more
that little
people to
debug room
work
by
on the
entering
game
a certain
now,
term in the
but
login
these
screen.
weren't
That's
new hires
that's
brought
funny.
in to help the game grow. These were veterans, folks who had made good video games, colleagues, friends, neighbors, people fighting not only for their livelihoods but for their lives in London, Ontario.
One thing I really like about this video, or these two parts, is that I really like how humanizing it feels while discussing a game studio, because I think that's one of the things that like we suck as people in 2025 currently, is when we start talking about like studios like Bungie, and like people would be like, oh, like Bungie sucks ass, Blizzard sucks ass. But like a lot of people forget that the people who work there and work for these companies are just trying to like make do and make money while doing the things they love. So like you're writing off an entire group of people whose passion is video games just like you, and they're making the things you love. And I feel like a lot of times we just forget that and just group them all together. And like you can see this a lot in like, you know, the history of Destiny and the Destiny community, and how Destiny community managers literally have to go offline because people will dox and harass them over small or large changes in Destiny, as if those people had anything to do with it. Fucking weird to think these guys were within driving distance of me. It's not the dev team that sucks ass, it's the executives that lord over them, correct? Yeah. 2-Player Productions documentary on Psychonauts 2 is also really good about humanizing the people behind the game, although that one is super long. Everyone's argument always seems to be if they really cared about the game, they wouldn't listen to the ones signing their paychecks. As if they have any decision in that, right? Like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna turn or like go against the executives of my company and risk my life and livelihood and job just because XYZ people on the internet say this makes game bad. Like, what are we talking about? Like, please remember these are real people.
Extremes had caught lightning in a bottle, and there was no way the team was going to let Warframe fail. They listened to the community and started
DE
adding new
strengths,
stuff.
they will talk to us. Steve used to do a mini stream as Red does just before major patches.
Added to the game, new Warframes.
Even if they did, it wouldn't see the light of day. Like, please think a little. Right.
Have our sights set on launching on PS4.
You know, we had very humble beginnings of this game. Like I said, it was going to be that kind of Space Ninjas raiding ships, you know, and then we kind of started to see that players liked hanging out in the game. So we started expanding. We started making custom tile sets for each of the enemy factions. We started like expanding the enemy faction types, putting tile sets on specific planets to kind of get a better sense of the solar system exploration that we kind of had lightly touched on.
I think certainly when we
I do think the
expanded our
current starter
customization,
frames are basically
that
an
was
all-rounder and then
huge
2
part
casters.
of
Yep.
what made people like the game better, just at a visual level. When we redid the melee system and the parkour system, those overhauls
Yeah.
were really well received.
The movement in
Bullet
Warframe was
jumping.
originally pretty similar to most other third-person action games, running, jumping, and
Feels like it should have been the all-rounder, a caster, and then either a support or tank frame.
Zor and coptering allowed players to catapult their frames great distances. It fundamentally changed the way the game was played. But
That's
instead of
funny.
nerfing this exploit,
Oh,
the team
that was
saw
Zephyr,
the
right?
community was trying to tell them something.
You know, bullet jumping was brought in a way to traverse the levels quicker because players really loved
That's Nova.
coptering, which was the movement was tied to the
The
slide.
go-to weapon for it was the Zord and
So certain
Tipedo.
weapons were really good at this because they had a very quick transition time, so they would fling you across the level. And some of these guys got insanely good and could
People
basically
love their
traverse some of the
movement
biggest
in
tiles the game
games.
in basically one swing. And I was like, wow, it's kind of game breaking. but we love that they love the flow of that. So
When
instead
Zoran
of
Prime was
just nerfing
released,
that
they
and
gave it a
moving on
special
and going,
passive
"No,
that
you can't
basically
do
allows
that,"
them to copter
kinda
like the
embraced
old
it
days,
and
although it's
brought
not as
new gameplay,
effective.
but in a more controllable way.
That's
I think
funny.
that's kind of been the philosophy, is like the community latches onto things for a
Right,
certain
because they're
reason,
fun.
instead of just smacking their hands saying, no, that's not my
No,
vision.
bad
It's like, how can you
community.
embrace that and how can you bring that into the game and not just remove it outright. For the core gameplay, I think it's been an evolution of things that the community has wanted, things that we've wanted, and the marrying of those two things.
It's not a bug, it's a
Reading
feature
the
taken
reaction to the
seriously.
community
Yeah.
has been critically important for the success of Warframe. Hotfixes would
that
come
Ember?
sometimes 2-3 times a week, adding new content, fixing bugs, changing the user
For
experience.
as much shit as
This
they get
balancing
Scott and
act
Steve do
between
care,
adding
most
new
devs would
content
just
and
remove the
fixing
bug.
issues the community has is a constant back and
Yeah,
forth
that's Ember,
battle
yeah.
the team has struggled with. And they found that the revenue the game makes from in-game purchases can be matched to how popular the latest content drop is. The better the update, the more players play, the more money the game brings in.
Can't imagine this one brought in too much money.
The hardest part about Warframe's life, I think, is the fact that it's clear from that data that Warframe needs to update to stay alive. The longer we don't update, the
Most insane movement back then was wall launches.
So
He
you have us
initiated
two
a wall run and
competing
released it immediately, would
schools,
send you
stay in the
flying at
game and
Mach
come play the
speed.
game. And then you have us, who has this 5-year, now 30 gigabyte behemoth that
30
needs to be
gigabyte
updated.
behemoth! Oh, Lord! Oh, Rebecca, you don't know what's coming. You don't know what is in your future. Oh, God!
To stay alive.
Right.
So how do you explain to someone that you've been talking to that, you know, we will fix your bug?
Current game
but
is still
we
only
also really
46
need to
gigs.
add
I'm
this
talking
new
about other
thing,
games.
Or people won't come and they're like, well, stop adding shit. You should fix it. And you're like, we have to do both.
I literally met an acquaintance I hadn't seen in a while, and he said, I tried playing your game. And I opened that screen with all the cards and I thought, I'm not smart enough to play this game.
Which it still unfortunately took them 8 to 9 more years to actually do something about that fact. Because I still, to this day, feel like I am not smart enough for modding.
And I didn't play it anymore. Rafe Koster is one of my favorite game designers, and his book Theory of Fun is just like my go-to. He wrote about how many times they changed the new player experience.
You
for
need a
Star Wars
PhD for
Galaxy.
modding.
And
Mod tutorial
every
quest is
time
coming.
did not
I
affect their
pray.
washout rate.
Really?
Yep. Here we did. We redid it again. Nope, retention's not any better. We still have this many % of people load it up, play it for a bit, and never come back. And
I
we've
love
done the
picking
same.
between the
You know, we
things.
work on this, and we try
Mods
to
still
fix
confuse
this,
people.
and we
Automodding
get
is bad.
stats,
I'm really looking
numbers,
forward to the mod
data
tutorial /
scientists.
Tashin story they plan to release.
So,
Did you know that they once reduced the game size
people
by
are smart.
15 gigabytes
They
because
look
they
at
changed
it,
the way they render
they see that
textures?
complexity, they
Coming in like a
know,
few months,
they
yeah.
smell that means this game is going to take a lot of mental
Genuinely
energy.
difficult
You're gonna have
thing
read
to explain.
Wikipedia
It
if you wanna
really, it
master
literally is like.
And they know
you
I'm
need a
either in for that
degree.
or I'm out for that. Does this Netflix series have 24 episodes?
After the hacks, you should
or
be able to
10?
watch the recent TennoCon
Right?
without fear of
It's a big
spoilers.
commitment to play Warframe.
I do plan on
One of the
watching
big parts
some
of
TennoCons as
my
well.
job, which is
Specifically the most
how
recent one as well.
much time are we going to burn on a new player, and how much time?
Oh
are
my
we gonna
god, the
give
old
to that
Vor
1,000-hour
mission.
player?
One way they've managed to keep that open communication with the player base was using the power of YouTube and Twitch. Rebecca started a popular developer Q&A stream from the office's
Old
canteen.
Vor.
We are ready to live stream our first dev.
Well, they reacting to just old TennoCons. Oh, Jesus Christ. I have zero faith that the mod tutorial class will explain the system to any depth past how the system works and the basics of different stats.
This is also our 5th anniversary of dev streams. We have been streaming since the end of February 2013.
I'm also not
It's
that
now
confident,
2018.
to be honest.
So if you've
That's not true.
Yeah, it is. If you've tuned into all 107, then way to go. You've made it to more than all of us, I think.
They started an annual fan festival called TennoCon, where players of the game travel to London, Ontario to attend panels, hang out, and meet their fellow Tenno. They even created a way for fans to sell their own frames and weapon skins. This program, called TennoGen, has earned some members of the community enough money that they've been able to get off unemployment benefits.
That is crazy, by the way. Like, that actually was like a gut punch, like heart-wrenching fact to learn. Is that, like, you can buy somebody's creation in-game that just looks cool as fuck and basically give them enough money to be a job. Like, that's insane for DE to do. The Rapala Sindana guy is rich, first real cape in the game. To learn making skins so that I can make a skin that I like for Jade.
They have a partner program where they support 200 content creators who stream and upload videos about Warframe.
Hi, I would like to be a part of that. Hi.
Prime Time, and two of Rebecca's community team members, Megan and Danielle,
they're both so pretty.
They use the Twitch Drops program, which enables players of the game to get free in-game goodies.
Oh my god,
Warframe
how fucking
streams.
old is the
Over
Twitch
the
Drop
course of
program?
Warframe's life, this
Holy
community
shit.
has grown organically. Some play all year, some are newbies, others are returning veterans. But the cycle of players
Danielle
is
also
always
helped
tied
Reb
to
save
new
me from the
content.
fire,
So
right.
to try and keep things fresh, every once in a while, the team throws
Meg,
a
save
curveball.
me.
What was
Meg,
happening
please.
was we were doing our routine. And
They
Warframe's
severely
routine
underestimated
is
the server
great, and
resources
it
required to make
lasts.
Scarlet
And
Spear and their plans for
it has-
Railjack work.
sometimes I think it has a saturation
you guys are
point
talking about something
of
else.
people needing a pivot for Warframe. So the
Remember watching
2
Kaz's
years
ZBrush
prior, the
stream?
pivot
They had
was
remote
cinematic
connection to the
quests,
Yogg's
right?
cast, and now they have
Came
the
out of
weapons
nowhere.
designed
No
made
one
for
was sitting there
DE.
saying,
That's
I want a
awesome.
story that's going to surprise me. But they were saying, I'm bored. So how do you
It's insane, also clever considering the size of the effective team that makes cosmetics for DE when you add Tennogen. I know the guy personally once asked how much he's actually earned off of his Tennogen stuff, and the Rapala Sindano specifically got him around 80k in the first year that it was available. That's fucking insane. 80k in the first year? Wow. What the fuck? I think I hate the most about Warframe is the lack of merch outside of a few shirts and 3 plushies. Well, if you truly consider, it's actually it's a pro and a con. The pro being Warframe itself having limited merch drop that is mostly uninteresting or unknown to most of the community is it allows fans to create merch and profit off of fan works of Warframe. This is actually a model that a lot of gacha companies use. Is if you go to literally any convention nowadays, you're going to see at least 20 people in the artist alley selling Genshin merch. So it's a pro and a con. You want official merch. You want to support the devs, but you also want to support the homegrown artists who love the game and create cool merch and products. And sometimes, in my personal opinion, sometimes a fan artist creates better merch than some of the official merch. And it can go both ways as well, but it's also free advertising if you think about it. But realistically, I don't think Warframe merch outside of TennoCon is popular enough to be that kind of advertising.
So I do think they should probably make more official merch. I think that'd be cool.
Excuse me.
There's a saturation point of people needing a pivot for Warframe. So the 2 years prior, the pivot was cinematic quests, right? It came out of nowhere. No one was sitting there saying, I want a story that's going to surprise me. But they were saying, I'm bored. So how do you treat boredom?
I'm bored.
Right? So you kind of have this repeated scenario where you can see your players are bored. They're asking for stuff, but what they're really saying is they're bored, right? And yes, you can deliver this feedback loop of, okay, we'll buff this Warframe, we'll change that, we'll change these missions, and that matters a shit ton. That matters so much. But to treat the boredom at a different level, you need to shock and
treat their boredom by flinging them into a gladiator arena.
The things you need to do are A, listen to your community, and B, not listen to your community.
Well,
give them something.
Yes.
I'm saying
correct.
Basically, take your vitamins every day, right? Like you will be healthy, you will be happy. It's good for you. It's good for us. But you know, sometimes you need a new flavor, right? So you're still trying to keep the maintenance up of this.
Rev, you can't say shit. That's mean.
Relationship, but you need to.
Are you not entertained? I actually just recently watched that. Literally 2 weekends ago, I watched that movie with my mom.
The last 5 years,
for the first time.
We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
Right.
What we did do was
when your audience is full of shit.
Correct. We added cinematic quests. We added Arcwing. We added.
That's actually. That statement right there, I feel, is one of the most important statements when it comes to the state of gaming. Is know when your audience actually knows what they're talking about versus knowing when your audience is full of shit. And I feel that is something that is a problem with some game studios, Riot Games, in that they will pick and choose specific opinions to listen to that a majority of the community doesn't agree with, such as balancing your game around pro player esports and what pro players are telling you rather than the general community. That is an example of know your audience. That's the issue with Fortnite right now. Right. Cough, Overwatch, cough. Right. Is you are sure these games are, you know, some of the biggest games currently, but you have to understand that the overall satisfaction of your players is going down each time you do this. And eventually that's how you kill your game. COD streamers playing Battlefield, right. Marvel Rivals is doing it, right? I somewhat agree. Not as much so if these leaks are correct about loot boxes, but anyways, I digress. Hi, Aries.
Added Lunaro, which turned out no one really plays, which is fine. You're allowed to make mistakes, that's cool, but you need to try.
One of the areas where the team needed to try a lot was the game's economy. The challenge
loot boxes are free if true. Huge if true.
For the loot grind fell on the shoulders of Sheldon Carter, and it's a responsibility he doesn't take lightly.
The guiding tenet is try not to push them so that they're gonna, grind their face off to get something, but also give them enough variance so that getting those resources is interesting. Despite best intentions, there's always something where we need our community to tell us, hey, this
I think we need
hard.
I think we need to revisit this video a little bit.
One of the pets that came out, it was too many scans. You had to scan wild Kavats in order to have enough scans in order to incubate a new baby Kavat. And it was just feedback from the community. They're like, hey, this is taking me. Like, is this what you wanted? Did you want us
Grind
to
was worse back then. I do know that for sure.
We wanted you to do it. We want you to
Kavat
have to
scanning
use the systems
rage.
we have, but we don't want you to, spend forever. When we first designed Kubros, or myself, when I first came up with the Kubro idea, we wanted people to be able to change the fur pattern and color.
Ah, yes.
So we had a lever, basically, for all intents and purposes. It was a button you could push, and it'd be like, oh, if you want to pay.
Someone gambled $1 billion on their dog, so they
you
removed
change
the
color.
gamble.
And
Yeah,
then you could,
I remember that.
You could take an imprint of that, and you could trade it to someone else. So it wasn't, like.
Do you no longer have to scan Kavats?
You
No.
could get something cool, and then you could give it to your friends.
Think so.
And we saw, a guy pulled the lever like 200 times.
And it's just like,
oh my dear God.
what have we done?
Oh God.
We created a slot
Oh
machine.
God.
And so, it was a couple days. I think it took us to take it out, a day and a half. That one is a big regret. Obviously, that was insanely profitable.
You do got to scan
for
kebabs to
someone
get a
be
gene
doing
code
that.
if you want some
But that's
pads.
not what our design intent, and that's not what the intent of the game is. So that's why it was, that's why we changed it. When you're dealing with something that does have a kind of a cash component, you have to really be careful. Like, of course, that would be cool in a game where there was none of that, where you were just, putting in earned money into it. But as soon as you put it as a premium currency and people can just go, oh, what can I get? Oh, I got the gold one. Amazing. How much can I sell that to other people for? And you're like, oh God, can't do that.
I've spent the past few months playing this game, watching YouTube videos, tuning into streams, all to try and get a sense of what exactly it is about Warframe.
I'm doing both of
that
those.
hooks people.
There's the moment-to-moment, the movement, the aiming, shooting, the inner loop. Then there's the outer loop of abilities, and then there's progression outside of that. But I don't think these mechanics alone account for why players find themselves attached to Warframe. I think a lot of it has to do with the bizarre universe that the game is set in. When the team originally designed this game, Mike Brennan, the lead artist at that time, didn't pull his sci-fi inspiration from Hollywood. Instead, he looked towards Europe and the work of acclaimed French cartoonist Moebius. Then there's the story of this game, a mix of unfinished ideas Steve had that has evolved over the years. Then there's the movement of the game, which came from a weird bug.
Chopped gameplay, get the controller out of his hands.
The biomes and tile sets, all of this came from ideas the team had later, built atop the humble foundations of that early prototype. What this all has led to is that the game looks and plays like no
Moebius did a lot of the
video
visuals for the
game.
original
Warframe
Tron.
is a weird-looking game. It's as beautiful as it is bizarre, and I think that's the surprise element that hooks Warframe players.
We do deliberately put a twist on everything we put into the game, whether it's even just as simple as the terminology. We have scarves in the games, but we don't want to call them scarves, call them sandanas. And it's kind of the same thing with the way we approach the sci-fi angle. We have our Corpus, who are kind of the heavy tech enemy faction, but Steve did this really cool thing where he said, well, they're kind of they treat greed as a religion, and that kind of is a
which is really like an awesome like concept.
You can kind of bring in, you can kind of get a bit wacky, as we like to say, with kind of the design of this. We don't really have a lot of restraint for how far we push things in Warframe. It's really fun actually as a result.
And even down to like vocabulary that's used. Like you don't just use the word like cat for your like cat looking.
No, it could not be a cat.
Right.
It's a kavad, of course. That's one thing that we've like tried. Like,
I think that's like so important for like sci-fi things.
But if there was one version of it, would have the entry of give everything a Warframe name.
Right.
And you can kind of see how that happened over time. Like early on, we had one of our amazing programmers naming our weapons. Like the sniper was just called the Snipetron, and it still is. Like that's still in game. But now you see like names that are appropriate for each faction, and like the Corpus names are Plasmor and like really sort of techie sounding, and then the Grineer ones are like the Stubba and the Stug and like, just, like more visceral
the
sounding.
Stug mentioned.
And that was an evolved language dialect over time. I think it's a weird organic sci-fi world that is distinct to Warframe. Like that's it, and that art style definitely was the original draw for people to check it out, and it has been the reason that a lot of people stick around. And the uniqueness of each character and the level of customization of those characters, like these things are weird, and they are good weird.
The thing that I really like about how it's evolved is it's a very
Corpus language is funny because it's just English, but like 14 characters are missing.
Interesting. You get people who love it, and I've seen comments where people, they try to play the game, but they can't get past the art. And in a way, I kind of prefer that. I like that we make a strong statement versus just being something that's kind of a bit more vanilla.
I'm starting to figure out that perhaps what looked like maybe a barrier to entry,
I kind of relate to that.
Like unfair advantage is that you have this very idiosyncratic or very like unique world that once people are sort of in on, then they feel really they belong to it.
I think you're entirely correct. That is absolutely, because when we first started making Warframe, my background, as I mentioned, is more on the art side, and
I kind of have mixed feelings on this point, but I'll wait until
you want.
after.
Let's just make sure we do the free-to-play right. You make what you're excited about, and so our art director is monumentally talented. He just wanted to make what he loved, and I'm seen as like, oh, like it's a little different. And then, but I'm like, yeah, do whatever you want, do whatever makes you happy.
Are you gonna remember it later?
Do
Maybe
what
not.
You are passionate about, which is a clear advantage, I think, for Warframe itself, is the passion of the team. Yeah, but I think you're right. In the end, it's different, and it's different enough that it appeals to a certain crowd, and they get in there, and that's the world, and it's a unique world.
Steve has oh cool syndrome. He has cool ideas and he gets them in the middle of executing the last one.
Warframe's world continues to evolve. There are
so webpage that
communities
can
of
translate
players
stuff to
within the
rewrite
game
what you
who
want into the
write wiki
10-bit
articles on how
alphabet.
best to min-max your frames.
Kind of wanted my
There are
IGN as a
communities of
tattoo, but I
pet
haven't pulled the
fanatics.
trigger.
There are
I think that
speedrunners,
sounds
lore
awesome,
enthusiasts.
honestly.
And of course,
I
there
love
are
the idea of
communities
like
people
game
who
tattoos.
just
They're like,
want to look good. The joke in the community.
like for me, tattoos, the way I think about them is something that like heavily, it's like a marker for your life, essentially. That's how I think about them, is like you're getting a tattoo of something that's important or meaningful to you in this moment in your life, and then 10 years down the line when you look down at your arm or your leg and then you just see and you remember like, oh, this was a time in my life, and this was like a part of my life that I thought was significant. And I think that's really cool to see and just kind of think about it like that. The kanji tattoo from MGS, and I gotta explain a lot of times. It gets a bit annoying, but I still love it. Sometimes I just bullshit people about the meaning. Anyways, so what I was gonna say about Warframe art direction is I was pleasantly surprised getting deeper into Warframe and seeing how just fucking awesome things get and stuff like that, and how unique everything is. Like, you play Warframe and everything you're seeing, you have never seen anything like it. Obviously, unless those things were referencing direct other things, but you know what I mean. But I also think it does work against them sometimes. Especially when you're trying to go for like a certain look or something like that, because like definitely one of my funner parts of Warframe is the visuals and like fashion framing and stuff like that, but at the same time it is the primary thing that turns people off from playing Warframe. Because you have not only the fact that it's a very grindy game, but like every time you want to try and introduce someone to Warframe, you gotta be like, you have to give it a chance. You have to just play it. Like, you just have to give it a chance. Like, you're not gonna understand. Like, you'll end up loving it or not, depending on like who you are. But like, you just have to play it. You have to give it a chance. And I don't think that's a very good system to get people to play the game. And as much as they've streamlined the new player experience, I do think they should do something better in terms of that. I'm not smart enough to come up with an idea on how to fix that, but I do think it needs just something that gives you that push.
Community is that since Warframe doesn't really have an end game,
More higher
the end
quality
game is
trailers?
simply
Maybe.
making the sickest looking frame you can. Something the community calls
That's exactly what one of
fashion
them said, that the art is
Last year,
divisive, and maybe
Warframe
they like
received
that.
its biggest update yet.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that yes, it is divisive, and yes, that does add to its originality, but also it directly works against them as well. Something familiar to get their feet into the water. Right. It's just an old game in its own corner of the internet. There's not much promotion outside of that. Yeah, but I don't know, because like it's like a monkey's paw situation, right? It's like you can wish for Warframe to get bigger, and therefore you get faster updates, you get better content, you get more content and stuff like that. And then the monkey's paw curls and you get a shit community and rancid players and people who are, you know, begging for things that you don't want and nobody else really wants, but they're asking for it because it's in this other game, and well, this other game has it and I like that system, so why aren't you adding it? And, you know, dog shit like that. So I don't know. I don't know. Again, like I said, I'm not smart enough to, or rather, I haven't researched into these things long enough to understand why they do the things they do. Markiplier did a video on Warframe, the plat market crashed and hasn't recovered since. Hi, Umbral. I am very much enjoying Warframe. And we will get to playing it a little bit as soon as we finish this.
The Plains of Eidolon, an open map for players to traverse, complete with quests to complete and mobs to kill. It's a wonderful step in an exciting new direction for Warframe, but perhaps it's not a new direction. Perhaps it's a step back 18 years to an idea for an MMO called Dark Sector that never came to pass.
I think you could easily make a case for we're on Warframe 3. You know,
fair enough.
If this was a traditional cycle, I'd say what was there in 1.
And that was 8 years ago.
The things that are there are, you are the space ninja, but God, I mean, there's Tenno now. You can play out in open landscapes. It was a corridor shooter. You can fly around, you know, you were grounded. The amount of weapons, I mean, the game has just constantly evolved, and it still evolves now. It's a lot of fly by the seat of our pants. It's a lot of like building the tracks as we're racing down, barreling, you know, towards it. You know, we have a destination in mind. When we're going to get there, we're not exactly sure, but there's definitely long-term goals, but a lot of the short-term stuff is kind of, you know, made up as we go.
It's not always an easy 5 years, and it's the best 5 years of my life, no matter what. Like, I'm not saying this is grim or anything, but to have a community that feels listened to is probably, I feel like it's a part of my life that I'm very proud of, but I also understand that not everyone always feels listened to in every industry, in every game, and it's really, you know, it's really something special that I hope we can continue to do well.
Warframe
And you
is what
have-
it was, and now it's grown in a really, really interesting way. That
You
was super
have
from
past
Tiny
Rebecca,
Fair.
you have.
And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of that kind of stuff coming. So it'll be really interesting to see how the game evolves and what it becomes, because it's with so many people working on it, and with such an expandable concept for a game, an expandable premise. Who knows where it could go, but it'll become bigger and really, really interesting.
The thing I'm most proud of with Warframe is the change, and is the castle built on those ruins. Like, we added fishing.
Oh my
to the
God.
game, right? So we can get back.
Fishing! I love fishing! Man, I love fishing!
MMO Warframe, or well, it was called Dark Sector back then, but we can get back to those ideas and try kind of more weird things.
Such a feel-good documentary. I love this shit. It really is. It does kind of tug at the heartstrings, for sure. For 38 million people have played Warframe since the launch of Plains of Eidolon, the average concurrent players has broken 100K. We believe this accounts for around half of Warframe's concurrent players. 38 million losers. 2014, Digital Extremes sold a majority stake to 2 Chinese companies. Tencent. One of those companies, Perfect World Entertainment, specializes in publishing free-to-play games. The studio no longer takes work for hire contracts. Thank you, China. That was awesome. I really liked that. Why is it sounding like an obituary?
The site of an historic.
That was good. I really liked that. It's even better seeing how they stayed on that feel-good trajectory, for sure. That was awesome, actually. Yay! I really did like that. I think that that's a great way to highlight both the game and the people who worked on it, the dev studio, kind of bring those people more into a light and stuff like that.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, but that was the NoClip documentary about Digital Extremes and their history, and specifically the development of Warframe.